What's going on, guys? If you're new here, my name is Nimal and I'm currently studying computer engineering at Purdue University. And today the topic of today's video is what kind of laptop should you as an engineering student get? And there are many different aspects to this. Perhaps you want a different operating system, or perhaps you want to go for the cheapest model, or you just want an all-out machine. Regardless, I just want to perhaps give you a head start on your laptop research. First, I want to have a few disclaimers. This video is in no way sponsored. It's fully from my own research and from my own experiences. And a second disclaimer I want to say is that this is not an exhaustive list. This is merely just a launchpad for many of you guys to do research and other things. So I guess the first elephant in the room question that many engineering students asked is, should I get a Mac or should I get a PC? Well, for the most part, it doesn't matter to some extent. However, if you do want to use some of those proprietary software like CAD, SolidWorks, and something similar to that, then you may have to lean for Windows. Otherwise, MATLAB works fine on Mac computers, and if you're an ECE or a CS student, it might be more beneficial for you to use a Mac in that sense, since you would be able to work in a Unix environment. However, if you're still wanting to cling on to Windows due to being comfortable with it, then I would consider one of the two things. One, I would consider either dual booting, which is when you download a Linux distribution onto your laptop and then just dual boot it from there. Or if you're a bit paranoid about dual booting, I would encourage you to get a virtual machine for your Windows. So for example, I use Ubuntu LTS, which you can get on the Windows Store for free, and that has worked well in many of the things I've been using this year. So aside from the OS spectrum, some things you want to be looking for are battery life, performance, the ability to customize if you need it, usability, the form factors, i.e. is it going to be light, is it going to be bulky, is it going to be like plastic, things like that. And also the number one thing you should be looking for is budget. So I kind of want to start off with the laptop I have, which is the Dell XPS 15, which is the 7590 series. And this is the model that came out last summer. I believe they have a new model right now, so I encourage you to check that out if you want to get the latest and greatest model. But anyways, the specs are as follows. It has a 1TB SSD with 32 gigs of RAM, and it has an i7 9th gen, but it really doesn't matter in the long run. The screen, it's a standard UHD, but it's not touchscreen. Although there are multiple ones, whereas you can get a 4K touchscreen, but it's not a 2-in-1 in any case. There's a dedicated graphics card, which is the NVIDIA GTX 1650 Max-Q, and there's 4 GB of VRAM. Now, this laptop is an absolute machine. It is a great power source, which is great at multitasking. I have a lot of tabs and programs open. It's good for programming and coding. The keyboard is excellent, and I just love to type on it. It's very nice. And it's also a workhorse for video editing, which is something I do a lot as a YouTuber. And for general use, it's pretty good. I mean, you have a lightweight laptop and it gets the job done. And as always, all of these models will be timestamped in the description below, and I will be having links to each of the models that I talk about in this video. Alright, so this part I'm going to be talking about the budget models that you as an engineering student may want to consider if money is not helping you. So the first model I want to talk about is the Dell Inspiron series, which is Dell Inspiron 3000, 5000, and there are also lighter models that you can look at. Some of the pros with the Inspiron series is that you do get an optional 2-in-1, which is good for taking notes if that's something you want to do. And you can choose between 13, 14, all the way up to 17-inch laptops. Another advantage is that there are also 10th gen Intel processors, which means you will be dealing with a faster processor. And there's also an optional dedicated graphics cards if you do want to customize your laptop as such. And lastly, there is a good number of ports, so you don't need to worry about dongle life if need be. Now, there are some cons with the Inspiron series, such as the build quality, and the build quality is mainly your average laptop, plasticky, if you know what I mean. And the battery life is not that great either, so you may want to be near a wall at all times with this laptop. So the next model I want to talk about is the Surface Go. Obviously, Surface Go's are awesome for 2-in-1s, which is an awesome thing for note-taking. There's also an Intel Pentium processor, and it's also super lightweight, so if you were to ever carry it in your backpack, it would be very easy and super light. In addition, there's also good display and audio quality, if that's important to you. Some cons with the Surface Go is that there's HD graphics, so the graphics may not be as bright as the other models, but it can certainly do the job. And another big con is that it can't handle intensive CAD modeling software. So if you're looking into mechanical, aero, or any other related fields in your engineering discipline, then this may not be the laptop for you. And lastly, another major con with the Surface Go series is that you may get a cramped Windows experience due to its tablet form. And the one last model I want to talk about, and something you may like and consider, is the Acer Aspire 5, which has a dedicated graphics card, and it's really a budget powerhouse if you do want to get an all-out machine and not have to shell out a bunch of money. And it does have a decent battery life. The build quality is pretty sturdy, and it has an Intel Core i5 for the base model, but you can go all the way up to an i7 if you want that extra speed. There's also 8 gigs of RAMs, and that may be good enough for your needs if your major requires such. In addition, there's a full HD display and a dedicated graphics card for all your intensive purposes. Some cons include that it's very bulky. So as you notice with most of these budget laptops, they're either plastic design or they're super bulky, which means that if you may have to pay a trade-off for whenever you have to carry it to your classes and such. And it's not that great for handling intensive applications like video editing. You may be able to work on with CAD models, but it's not always a guarantee. But this is definitely not a video gaming device. The touchpad may be a bit lackluster. So overall, with these laptop series and models, it's pretty average. You get what you're paying for, and that's about it. But another plus includes you can always upgrade the parts. And with constant upgrades, you can easily upgrade your processor, RAM, graphics cards if necessary, and you can customize to your liking as such. However, if you want to stay away from budget models and want to make a good investment in your engineering education career, you may want to look at an all-out machine like the Dell XPS, the Asus Zenbooks, or even a Macbook Pro, which is definitely what I'm going to be talking about in this segment. So I want to start off by saying that with an all-out machine like the XPS and the MacBooks, they're made to handle intensive applications, and you can have a ton of processes going around in the background, and it's simply worth the money if you know that you're going to be doing a lot with CAD modeling, video editing, or even wanting to have a good gaming machine. This is just for you. So first, I want to start off with the Asus Zenbook, and this is more specifically the UX533. And with these all-out machines, they're also really good in terms of form factors. They're super lightweight, and the Zenbook is no exception. It has a durable design, a nice keyboard layout, along with an Intel i7 chip with a NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1050 graphics card. It has 16 gigs of RAM, and the base model has 512 gigabytes of SSD, but you can definitely go up to a terabyte if you so desire. The audio is great. There is a good amount of ports for displays and peripherals if you so desire. And another good feature with the Zenbook series is the screen pad. It's really useful for built-in app support like Spotify if you're really wanting to use the screen pad functionality. And the battery life is pretty decent. Some of the cons include the performance can be a bit mixed, and the display can be brighter, and it doesn't have a Thunderbolt 3 port if you really want to transfer things at a faster rate. This model does not have that. And it could be better in terms of graphics performance, and in this case, a model like the Dell XPS series could be a better fit for that. So the next model I want to talk about is the MacBook Pro 16-inch. And MacBook Pro is well known for their enhanced quality and their all-out performance. So with features like an awesome screen, a greatly improved and updated keyboard, along with great audio, this laptop is definitely worth the investment for all the quality features you're getting. It's also super light and the battery life is very superior. However, some of the cons include that it's really expensive, so do keep that in mind if you are looking at a MacBook. It's very hard to find an affordable option, especially if you're looking at a MacBook Pro. And if you're also looking into USB-C ports, there's only 4 ports with them, so you may have to find like a dongle of some kind or some kind of adapter if you want to enhance more Thunderbolt ports. This next laptop I'm going to be talking about is definitely on the pricier side, but it also has very neat features just like the MacBook Pro. And this is called the Razer Blade 15. With the Razer Blade 15 models, it has a greatly improved keyboard layout along with an excellent display. In addition, it has a lot of ports and it also supports the Wi-Fi 6 standard. With the Wi-Fi 6 standard, the Razer Blade 15 models can support the latest and greatest internet connections. Some of the cons include that the model does not have an Ethernet port or a dedicated Ethernet port, and this is an issue you may see with some of the recent and latest models with the XPSs, the MacBook Pros, and certainly the Razer Blade 15s. So if you really do want a dedicated Ethernet connection, you may want to invest in a dongle if that's very important to you. And like I said earlier, this model, the Razer Blade 15, is also very expensive. So you may want to look at another model that's similar to the performances of the Razer Blade 15s. The next model that I want to talk about is the Surface Book 3. Now with the Surface Book 3, it's very nice in the sense that it's very classy in terms of build quality. So you have the quality materials as the exteriors. In addition, it has an excellent screen, an improved GPU from Surface Book 2, which may be a plus for you if you are a Surface Book 2 user. And it has a detachable keyboard, which means you can work more with the screen. Some cons include it's also very pricey, which seems to be a common theme with most of these models. And with the detachable screen, it can be a bit large when it comes to taking notes, so you may want to look at other 2-in-1s for that matter. So the last part I want to talk about is Ultrabooks. Ultrabooks are all about light quality and powerful performances. And the first one I'll be talking about is the MacBook Air. With the MacBook Air, the keyboard is updated and it's a lower price compared to the Pro. And there's also a good battery life. However, some of the cons include having a weaker processor compared to the MacBook Pro, and it's really not made for handling intensive applications as the laptop will get hot. You may have to look at another model or two. With the MacBook Air, you can complementing it with another machine if you were to go to your computer lab at your local or your respective university. So the next model I want to talk about is the HP Spectre X360. And with the Spectre models, there's always a super portable design and the battery life is really good. There's a great display, which is useful when it comes to everyday engineering tasks. And with all of these things, there's also a faster overall performance. With a nice keyboard layout, it creates a great experience when using the Spectre. And speaking of experience, this is also a great 2-in-1 device, so it's always ready for note-taking. And some of the cons include some amount of bloatware. However, if you can ignore that or probably disable that, then it shouldn't be that big of a problem. Another problem with the Spectre X360 series is that the speakers are located at the bottom, so the audio is not so great. So the next model I want to talk about is the Dell XPS 13. And with the Dell XPS 13, there are 2-in-1 models available. The features include having a spacious keyboard and a very useful trackpad. It also comes with a faster performance with 10th generation Ice Lake processors. It also comes with a productivity screen with a 16:10 aspect ratio. The screen itself is 13.4 inches. In addition, the screen can either come in 4K or 1920 by 1200. And when it comes to smaller screen models, there isn't really a difference. It's just a matter of whether you want a 4K screen. And just like all the other XPS models, it does have all the powerful features. However, I must note that there is no dedicated graphics card with the Dell XPS 13 model. However, the XPS 13 is very short on ports, as it's making a commitment to removing legacy ports, which is a big con for this model. So the next one I'll be talking about is the LG Gram 17. And as you've heard before, LG Grams are known to be really light and super portable. And it also has an improved keyboard with an awesome battery life and a ton of ports. And it also comes with a terabyte of SSD storage, which is a great plus if you're looking at storing many different files of many things. And it also has a great wireless connectivity. And some of the cons include that the LG Gram 17 models are very pricey, and the sound is a bit distorted, and you're still working with the old processor from the previous models. It's okay for light gaming, but it's really not made for handling things like CAD modeling or video editing. The next model we're talking about is the Lenovo Thinkpad X1 Carbon G7. And ThinkPads are known to be really powerful, and the performance is very similar to the XPS lineups. The keyboard is really nice, and it comes in a super light form factor along with an amazing life. Some of the cons of the ThinkPad X1 Carbon include having bloatware just like the other Lenovo models, but it's really not that bad compared to the other Lenovo models, and you can remove them if you try hard enough. Another con with the ThinkPad X1 Carbon G7 is that it has a smaller touchpad, and you may have to get a mouse for that matter if you want to work well with it. And there's also no dedicated Ethernet port, so you will have to get a dongle. And that about wraps up the research that I've done with the various laptops. And as you can see, there's quite a few things to consider, whether it be the price point, how the laptop performs, and what kind of features you value the most, such as Ethernet ports. Do you want a dongle, or do you want a better or dedicated graphics card? So there are just various things to keep in mind as an incoming engineering student. And some things you may value, I might not value, and that's totally fine. And remember, this is not an exhaustive list of laptops that you should be looking at. These are just a launch pad for you to do research on or just know more about what kind of laptop you want to buy. Another point I want to make is that you don't really need to have a powerful laptop depending on your plan of study. And what I mean by that is sometimes your school may have proprietary software installed on computer labs, and that may be just fine for you, and that's okay. And for that reason, you may not want to have a powerful laptop. But if you want a powerful laptop for the convenience, like I did, I would say go for it, because having to just rely on your personal machine is a lot more efficient and a lot more valuable as the years go by. Ultimately, the laptop you buy comes down to how much you research and how much of the features you want to have. So I definitely encourage just to research. And also in terms of affordability, I encourage you to look for deals and specific discounts that you may find with some of these expensive machines. And be sure to look for things like Prime Day sales, if that's going to happen this summer, and just things that you find online through Best Buy or various websites. So I highly recommend look for the features you want, but also don't pay for too much of the things for the features you want. So be sure to keep that in mind. If you found this video helpful, informational, or valuable, please feel free to leave a comment. Let me know if I missed a model that should have been covered. I would like to know what you all are using as engineering students, or if you're just a normal college student, let me know what kind of laptop you're using. And also like this video, it really helps a lot. And I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe. Peace.